Hello and welcome into the latest edition of ESPN FC. Kay Murray and Ali Moreno here in the studio. We're also going to be joined by Shaka Hislop and two Frenchmen, and Juliens Laurens and Frank Leboeuf as well. We'll continue the talk with transfers, and we will start with Kai Havertz and continue that conversation on his move to Arsenal. Reports stating that a medical set for the weekend, and if that all goes well, a formal announcement will be made next week. I want to start with you, Jules. There's been a lot of divided opinion on this move and the player in general. Do you like this transfer?
I mean, it doesn't matter so much if I like it or not. What I find interesting in the Kai Havertz deal is that Mikel Arteta is a big fan, and what he's the most fan of is the versatility of Kai Havertz. In Arteta's mind, Havertz is coming on as a number 9, as a number 8, as a number 10, as a wide player. He likes the fact that he will be able to play pretty much anywhere, and believe that with the potential and the talent that Kai Havertz has, he will be able to adapt, to fit in, to slot in well, and to be able to play in that team and make his contribution. I think in Arteta's mind, if you can share the goals load around Saka, Martinelli, Odegaard, Havertz, Gabriel Jesus, maybe a bit of Nketiah or Balogun, whoever stays, then I think he would be very happy with that instead of signing a top striker, let's say for 100 million, that would get you 30 goals or 40 goals a season. I think this is the idea. He likes the fact that, and I think he wants to put Kai Havertz in as the other side of the Martin Odegaard, so almost as a number 8 on the left-hand side where Granit Xhaka has been playing last season, for example. That's very much the idea. So the versatility is what Arsenal are paying for, plus the talent of Kai Havertz.
And you've actually put that into a starting 11 for us, Jules, when we've asked you to put together a starting 11 for Arsenal, with the players that we know right now would be available to Mikel Arteta. So talk us through this.
Yeah, it's a bit difficult because obviously there will be new players, there will be departures, so we didn't put Xhaka or Partey in this team because we don't expect them to be there at the start of the season. So the back 4, the back 5 with the goalkeeper is not going to change. Then Jorginho right now will be the number 6, but again that can change with the Declan Rice or Caicedo, Lavia, whoever they go for and whoever they manage to sign. Then I think what Arteta wants to do is the Havertz as a number 8 in that left half space, if you want, and Martin Odegaard on the other side. And then the front 3, which is the front 3 that we saw most of the season when Gabriel Jesus was not injured, of Saka, Martinelli and Gabriel Jesus. So again, you can put Havertz instead of Gabriel Jesus, and another midfielder there. You could put Havertz wide. You could even change slightly your formation and have 2 10s a bit higher up the pitch in Odegaard and Havertz. So there's a lot of things you can do with Kai Havertz if you sign him.
We're hearing a lot more about what you can do with Kai Havertz, and that seems to have been the case over the past week. I know you've not been as keen on this player and the move. Are you coming round at all?
No, I haven't changed my mind on Kai Havertz, and he hasn't given me any reasons to do so. I agree that Kai Havertz has a lot of talent, and I agree that he gives you versatility. So he may be good in many positions, but is he great in any of those positions? And has he proven to be great in any of those positions? And so, again, he's a player that can be a good piece for you, but not an angular piece. He can be added value, but not the value. And so when I look at Kai Havertz, may give you versatility, may give you a goal here and there. I just don't think he's a player that you can trust to be a difference maker with consistency. The numbers would suggest as much. Again, where he plays, where he appears with the ball, where he appears without the ball, all I can tell you is my observation from the player is that I don't know that if I'm a manager, I can trust him to deliver consistently. That the productivity is going to be there when we need him the most, I just don't think so. Good player, not a great one.
Frank, what's your thoughts on the 11 that we just saw there and whether it could compete once again for the title with Man City next season?
Well, they could, but because of the fact that they signed Jorginho and Havertz to a club who struggled last season, I can wonder if it's a better team or not. And I have question marks about that. I totally agree with what Ali explained about Kai Havertz. I think he's a good player. There is a lack of consistency. Jorginho, last time that he was at Chelsea, wasn't efficient as well. And now there are 2 big signings comparing to, comparing to what? You would have to compare those 2 players to Shaka and Partey. And I'm sorry, Partey and were terrific last season. I'm not sure those two players can replace them well as easy as many people could think. So I have question marks. Definitely the good players, but if Arsenal wants to be and to compete against Manchester City, I think we're still far away. And it's all with all due respect, but I'm pretty sure those two players don't improve, the level of Arsenal.
Can they go again, Shaka?
I'm not sure. I'm just going to echo certainly what Ali and Frank said. Listen, if Arsenal and Mikel Arteta are getting the Kai Havertz of Leverkusen, then it's an incredible signing. But there's nothing from Havertz that we've seen over 3 seasons that suggests that this was a needed signing for Mikel Arteta. If you looked at Arsenal last season and looked at Kai Havertz, at no point anybody thought Havertz was getting into the Arsenal starting 11. But now this signing has gone through, I'm wondering how much of it is just trying to find reason for Havertz for this signing. But suffice to say, Mikel Arteta is manager of Premier League second best club. And we're sitting here for a reason. Maybe he's seen something that I certainly am not. But so he's there to prove me wrong. But as of right now, I just don't see how this adds value to Arsenal other than strengthening the squad in a season where they hope to go deeper in the Champions League and the cup competitions and certainly hold their nerve a whole lot better in the running. Maybe the added numbers gives them that, maybe the added experience gives them that, but in terms of just making the starting 11 better on day one, I don't see it.
Do you have them as second favourites?
Well, I've also said that my biggest fear for Arsenal and Arsenal fans is that this past season may have been their best shot at winning the title. And they faded in the end. Manchester City really, I think, were able to figure out that Arsenal were going to be there making mistakes, we're going to come up short, and Manchester City was more than willing to continue to put the pressure on. Essentially, that pressure broke Arsenal, and Manchester City took full advantage. My concern is that it's not just Manchester City that they have to be better. You're talking about Manchester United is going to get better. Liverpool is going to be better. Newcastle is going to be there, and it's going to be a difficult team to play against. And you continue to see and have reasons to believe that this whole idea of Arsenal being able to challenge again in the manner in which they did this season may suggest that this may have been their best chance. Don't really like their chances nearly as much this upcoming year.
Something came up while we were preparing the show and we saw some parallels between two players. We wanted to put this to you, Frank Leboeuf. Who had the better Chelsea career, Fernando Torres or Kai Havertz?
Oh, wow.
Go for Kai Havertz. I mean, for sure. Fernando Torres had an unbelievable career at Liverpool, but he signed for Chelsea. And I'm sorry, even if he won the Champions League, I don't believe that he was, for me, better than Kai Havertz. Kai Havertz had a very good time, where I really thought that Torres was disappointing in a way to the comparison that we had for Liverpool. Kai Havertz is a young player. He came as still an experienced player, won the Champions League with Chelsea, was at some time during the season maybe the best at front, and maybe the only one without a doubt that he should start. I never felt that Torres really convinced anybody while he was playing for Chelsea. He did for other clubs, but not for Chelsea.
Do you have any thoughts on this, Jules?
The two different players, though. I know when Havertz plays as a number 9, then you can compare the numbers and the goals they scored and things like that. But they are two very, very different player and profiles, really. And with Kai Havertz, let's not forget that he's been played a lot as a number 9, as a lone striker, which is not what he is. He was never like that by Leverkusen. The best season that he had before he left to go to Chelsea was not in that position. Of course, he can play there, and we talked about the versatility, of course. I just think that if we compare him with all the other number 9s, of course he will never be the same, because this is not his best position. He scored in the Champions League final, and forever I think Chelsea fans will be grateful for that goal against City. Great, it's great for him. I just think that sometimes when we judge Kai Havertz's career at Chelsea, it's a bit harsh because we only see as a number 9 and the goal that number 9 should be scoring, which is not his case. Completely, I agree with the boys. What they said, I think he scored 7 in 49 this year. This is not enough. But again, I would have loved to see him in a team that had a proper number 9, where he would have played then a bit behind, let's say as a second striker, which I think is still maybe his best position. Let's see what Arteta makes with him. I just think it's a bit harsh to judge him on that number 9 position, that's all.
This has come up as a career question, basically, because of them both being influential in a Champions League campaign for Chelsea, because of them both coming with big expectations and maybe not living up to those expectations, it's fair to say.
Yeah, but I think the conversation about Fernando Torres is... You cannot put together that conversation without picturing who Fernando Torres was with Liverpool. And that's the problem, that he had set a standard with Liverpool in which he was at one point the best out-and-out striker in the world. And that's the standard, that's the level. So that's what you're expecting when he goes to Chelsea. And when you don't see anywhere near that, that's when you become disappointed. That's when you become frustrated, because he's not meeting your own expectations. Now, in terms of the numbers themselves, they're not terrible, they're not awful, but compared to what Fernando Torres was, then yes, that's when they're terrible, that's when they're awful. In regards to Fernando Torres and Kai Havertz, apples and oranges. But if I'm picking one, give me Fernando Torres. You can keep Kai Havertz.
Well, thank you very much for watching ESPN on YouTube. For more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for live streaming, premium content, and let's not forget as well, ESPN FC 7 days a week. Subscribe to ESPN Plus.